camp practice number 10 has officially wrapped up in Knoxville, Tennessee, and we're going to talk quarterback battle, injury news, offensive line, and cornerback rotations. All right here on Tennessee Football Talk, brought to you by Prize Picks. So happy you guys are hanging out with us. Let's get started with what everybody wants to hear about first. Okay, that is the quarterback battle. And some intel coming out of Knoxville this morning. Faizon Brandon had some really great touch on some deep shots and was first up in line whenever the number one wide receivers are out there in drills. A little bit more from Patrick Brown at 24/7 Sports. The quarterbacks then dialed up some deep balls, and Faizon Brandon shined with his touch and accuracy between post and corner routes. He threw 3 beautiful deep balls dropped in a bucket to Mike Matthews, Braylon, Staley, DaSaahn, Brame. He easily threw the best deep shots. In the final 2 rounds of deep balls I watched, Brandon was the first quarterback in the line both times. Before we talk about the deep shots themselves, I want to spend 30 seconds on that final line right there, that he was first in line for the final 2 rounds with the number one wide receivers. And we talked about how we believe Faizon Brandon separated himself a little bit from George MacIntyre after Saturday's scrimmage. And I think that this rotation reflects that a little bit. Now, again, this battle's not over. George MacIntyre is going to have a shot to practice this week, scrimmage on Saturday, to really get back in contention. But I think this kind of reflects everything that we had heard and felt after Saturday's scrimmage. But another update from Ryan Sylvia via the Rocky Top Insider: had a few balls that you couldn't place any better if you wanted. One to Mike Matthews that Brown was talking about was a picture-perfect rep. And I cannot explain to you how important it is to have a quarterback that is as accurate, that has as much touch on his deep ball as Faizon Brandon does at that age. Like, guys, that is, number one, surprising. You usually see that kind of start being a strength for quarterbacks the longer and longer they get into college football, especially when you're a guy like Faizon Brandon, who, when he was in high school, ran a very RPO-heavy style of offense where he wasn't asked to throw the ball 15 yards down the field a lot. Okay, it was kind of, hey, get the ball to your playmakers or go make a play with your legs yourself. To come in here and be that accurate and throw with that amount of touch, it's unbelievable, because that helps Josh Heupel's offense operate so much better, so much more efficiently. And I think Joey Aguilar is a perfect example of that. Was Joey a perfect quarterback in Knoxville? No, he wasn't. He made mistakes, sometimes threw bad interceptions. But one thing Joey did very, very well was have consistent accuracy when it came to balls that went 20 yards or more down the field. I think he showed that very early on with that deep shot to Braylon Staley week 1 against Syracuse, and he continued to show that throughout the season. And it was great to see that from Joey, because we saw the exact opposite from Nico in 2024. He was 16 for 50 on balls that traveled 20 yards or more down the field. 16 for 50. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 32% completion percentage on deep shots. And it's funny because I remember watching that team, watching that year. And a lot of the conjecture was Heupel's taking a step back as a play caller. People are starting to figure out how to defend Josh Heupel and the Tennessee Volunteers. I reject that hypothesis, because I remember time and time again, game after game, watching players run naked down the field, wide open, 3 to 4 to 5 yards of separation between them and the nearest defensive back, and that ball just go too far. Overthrow. That's the difference between a Tennessee offense under Hendon Hooker that was really great with the deep ball and Nico, right? You see it against Alabama. You see it against Florida. And these are just 4 pictures. This doesn't tell the whole story. I could probably find a picture of every single game, ladies and gentlemen. And so I find a lot of comfort in the fact that Faizon is coming in here. He's not just accurate, but he's really efficient in throwing the deep ball, because that's going to open everything else up from this offense. Because we know Josh Heupel loves to run the football. And when you run the football as much as Tennessee does, a lot of times safeties are going to play a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage, a little bit up closer to the box. That makes them more susceptible to let up deep shots. And if you can hit those, safeties are going to back up, and then it opens up the running game again. And it's just this cycle where you're really hard to defend. Do you think Faizon is the Vols QB1? If you do, hit that thumbs up button. Cast your vote down below by liking today's video. We got more coming up on injury updates, cornerback room, offensive line, but I do got to tell you about Prize Picks real quick because it is Taco Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Throughout the day on Tuesdays, Prize Picks releases multiple discounted player projections. Those are called tacos, and they are marked with a taco icon. These discounted projections make a player's selection more favorable than the standard projection. Each taco is only available for a limited time before rotating to a new discounted projection. That encourages you to check it out throughout the day. Users can include these discounted picks in any lineup alongside their favorite selections. And what an awesome deal Taco Tuesday is. They literally just say, hey, we're going to take this player's and bring it down a little bit just to help you guys hit your lineups. We have a 2-pick power play I feel very good about hitting. It's a season-long projection. More on Cam Coleman receiving yards and more on DaSaahn Bishop rushing touchdowns. Download the Prize Picks app today. Play your first $5 and get $150 in lineups if you win. Just use code AJMA when you sign up. That's right, Prize Picks just switched up their offer, so there's no better time to join. Lock in and win that first lineup. That's code HMA at sign up to get $150 in bonus lineups if you win your first $5 lineup. We appreciate Prize Picks for being the sponsor. All right, let's get into the latest injury news out of Knoxville, Tennessee. Good news for Ty Redmond, as today was the first day he was back in drills. Not injury-related, but we know he missed the first week and a half of fall camp because of an illness. He slowly has been working himself back in, and today was the first day he was participating in every single drill out there with the cornerbacks. Ethan Davis still not at practice. This is almost 2 weeks after the first practice happened. That was the last time you saw him at the practice field. 10 days since Alec Abel told us it was nothing to worry about and just precautionary. About 9 days after Brent Hubbs and VolQuest said they expect to see him the very next day at practice. I'm not pressing the panic button, but every single day that goes on that he's not out there, I become a little bit more worried. Radarious Jackson was back in a red non-contact jersey. He was in one for the majority of last week, very end of it, came out of it, played the scrimmage, back in it today. Also in a red non-contact jersey, Isaiah Campbell, not Amari Campbell, the defensive lineman. No worries, Gage, you don't need to switch it. You're all good there. And then Luca Wolf was out there, but he has a quote, or excuse me, was not out there because, quote, he's gotten banged up. So that gives guys like Cole Harrison in that tight end room, DaSaahn Brame in that tight end room, with Davis and Luca not being out there, a little bit more time to shine and prove, hey, I can be an asset of this year. The cornerback depth, this was a really good way of looking at things, okay? Derek Jones spoke to the media after practice, and he asked about, a guy like Jade Richard being out for the season, and a guy like Ty Redmond not showing up for the first week and a half of practice. He said, look, Tim Merritt and Trey Petit, they have specifically benefited from the increased snaps because of Ty Redmond's absence. And if that's what it results in, man, then I think it's a great thing that happened. Now, obviously, I want Ty Redmond out there. I want Ty Redmond out there getting work. But with Jade Richard out for the season, Petit and Merritt just became so much more important. And so the fact that they got to get snaps with the ones for the first week and a half, I think that is huge for their development. Derek Jones sees it that way as well. One of the bigger items we've discussed for a lot of fall camp is the fact that freshman 4-star athlete Joel Wyatt, who originally came in as a safety, was working with cornerbacks for the first week and a half. And Derek Jones said, at the time, we didn't have a lot of depth at corner. That would explain it a little bit. But also the way he runs the arm length, quote, I think we've got something that most people are going to wish they had. And I don't know if there's a statement that came out today that makes me want to run through a brick wall more than that right there. Because I really love the athletic profile of a guy like Joe Wyatt. I want him to be on the field as much as possible. I think he is one of those players that can be elite in college football. And I love the talk and the thought of him being a joker, being a guy that can be anywhere, in the cornerback room, at nickel, in the safety, in the box. Like, the dude is special. And Derek Jones is kind of speaking that language in his press conference. Shout out a player you think is being slept on down below in the comment section. Let me know your answer. And for the final segment of today's show, we're going to talk about the offensive line configuration. It feels like left side, we know what's happening, right? It's David Sanders, it's Wendell Moy, and it is Sam Pendleton from left tackle to center. But I feel like there is a little bit of conjecture and a little bit of questions about what's going on for the right guard and right tackle spot. I assume it's going to be Perry and Williams, but Jesse Perry is so versatile that I could see him being the right tackle as well and them going with a different guy in at right guard. On the ones today, on that right side was Sham Umarov at guard, Perry at tackle. And with the twos, it was Ori at tackle and Donovan Haslam at guard. So I think that is something I'll be watching out. Can Ori Williams close out Jesse Perry, win the right tackle spot, and move Perry back inside the guard? Or will it be Perry that beats out Williams, and you'll be running with Sham or Donovan Haslam to be your guard? All right, that is going to do it for this morning or this afternoon by the time this gets out. We'll be back later today, probably a little bit later of a show, 6 p.m. Eastern most likely, maybe 5 p.m. Eastern. Just know we'll be back. So follow me on socials, subscribe to the channel, turn those notifications on, and we'll see you in a bit.